Howdy, partner. It's podcast 8. What's going on, everybody? It's Nick and Sam.
Hello.
And we are back for episode 8.
Oh, God.
So we've been watching a little bit of TV lately. A little bit of Netflix.
Oh, yeah. And chill. Just kidding. Sorry, that was bad.
That's very personal, Sam.
Sorry.
I don't think we need to talk about that on the podcast. It's Car Podcast families are listening. So we've been watching some Netflix. The Fastest Car.
Oh, yeah.
Piqued our interests.
Mm-hmm.
And
obviously,
I gotta be honest, it's a bit of a letdown.
A bit.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So the first one I watched was the Salamone episode, the Team Salamone episode.
And the guy with the Chrome.
The Chrome Aventador SV.
Yep.
I've met him in person at a Make-A-Wish event.
Same.
And him and his significant other, his concubine, Davina. They're both very, very nice people, awesome people. And I totally get their thing, and I love their thing, like their showmanship and everything. And so I'm a huge fan of Team Salamone. And so I wanted to see their episode. So I watched their episode, and there's all this, like, wonderful buildup. I thought the show itself was really well put together.
Yep.
And, like, they did a great job highlighting the people and the cars and, like, what it means. And they actually made you give a shit about the result.
Yep.
And then we got to the race. And it just totally dropped on its face. Because they allowed, like, I get
rules.
it.
There's like you can only do one burnout or one, whatever you need to do to warm up the tires.
This is a TV show. Like I get it. Like, say those things and have, like, you're only going to get one run. Like, set the expectations. But then, like, this is reality TV and this is how it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to stage reality TV to a certain extent. So I'm not saying stage the race. I'm not saying stage the outcome. I'm saying use a race that's a good race. Everybody was waiting in that show to see the Aventador versus that truck versus the Camaro versus the whatever the other car was.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't get to, or the it's a Plymouth, but it's a Mitsubishi, like that thing.
Yeah.
So everybody wanted to see those 4 cars have a good, solid race.
Yep.
So if I'm the producer of this show, why would I choose to, like, actually follow the rules the way you do in the real world? That's not interesting.
But you have to say, like, I mean, I don't want to get too, like, I guess, company motto type here, but Netflix is known to be more to flip the industry in terms of, like, what a TV show should be on its head. So in that sense, I get what they're doing, but I think they should change the rules. I think that's what I'm saying.
I think they
change the rules.
I'm all for, like, the production of, like, having a one run and, like, you know, whatever. But like,
give them time to actually prep, not like oh, you didn't do the burnout. Oh, that's it. That's it.
No, but even like a false start for, like, Salamone and the other guy to get disqualified because of a false start. Why don't you do another run? And use one that doesn't have a false start. Use a run where everybody gets off the line together and whatever happens, happens. Yeah. Like, I'm all for, like, the winner of the race not being determined. I don't want it to be fake. But, like, the fact that they, like, had, like, a did not finish, like, because of a false start, and then there was, like, this wheezy little race between the other 2 cars, like, that was such a letdown. And, like, the only reason I watched another episode was because we just watched one. Like, while we were eating dinner. Yeah. But, like I'm literally ready to write this show off because, like, it's basically the same thing happened in this show.
Yeah, I think
there's like the McLaren, the kids McLaren, and the other guy, because they did an extra burnout, got disqualified. Like, it's so stupid. Like, look, we just want to see the races. I want to know if this guy's, like, you know, truck that he built with his dad or whatever is faster than an Aventador. That's the only reason I watch till the end, and then they don't even give that to you.
Yep,
it's pathetic. Like, I'm so angry that they did that.
Yeah,
I was so mad.
Close, you know, like, obviously there's a driver element to that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, with anything. But, like, at least try to get the car prep in terms of, like,
or just have, like, use a race, use a run where everybody leaves the line at the same time.
Right.
And if somebody pops a motor, somebody spins out, whatever, that happens. That's the take that they're going to use.
Yep.
But, like, for people to like, for it to not count because of something you could have just restarted for is really stupid from a production standpoint. It's just so anticlimactic. And it makes me want to just write off the whole show.
I see where they're coming from, though, because I'm not saying the show's great or they're doing a good job. I think it's crap.
I love the build-up. I think it's like so close to being great.
It's like It's very laid back, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's really cool. Like, you kind of hear the personal story of the drivers and the builders.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is
It's
some
well
problem.
shot.
Yep.
Everything's like
Yep.
great, but
It's
then
awesome.
like you can't take that kind of a build up and then have such an anticlimactic resolution.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you gotta use a good run, and not talking staging. You just have to use a run that the viewer is gonna feel is fair.
Yeah.
And you still say, oh, you only get one run and this and that. But then behind the scenes, if somebody, false starts, you start over and you use the next run.
Yeah.
Until
But I'm
you
sure
get
with,
a
like-
good run.
But I will say this. I know that if they were to do that, it would take forever. Because they wouldn't be able to just line up again and do
This
it.
is television.
Yeah,
Make it take forever. They're getting paid for this.
No, true,
You
true.
know what I mean?
Right. Because
Like-
I know with like drag cars, once you run it once, you got to let that thing breathe for a little bit.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
But they're gonna have the whatever
No, I get-
wherever
I'm
they're
not-
at, they have it for a day.
I'm not
probably.
defending what
it's
the show.
just
I agree with you.
Produce it a little bit more is
Yeah.
all we're saying. We're not even saying like stage it.
With
I'm
that
just
being
saying
said,
produce it
You should watch
professionally.
it. Watch it, and then see what your opinion is. And I think you will agree for the most part. The build-up is great. I think.
Just watch it because the build-up is awesome,
Yeah.
but expect to be dropped on your face when you are expecting a resolution.
Yep.
Don't expect. It's literally like blue balls. The whole episode is like blue balls. It's like you're almost there, and then she leaves. That's
Yep.
it. like there's no resolution
It's like one of those,
whatsoever
it's like
to
one of
the
those
show.
anti-jokes.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like it's almost like that is the joke. The show's a joke, and that's what the producer's like. Oh, I'm not going to let anyone like see what actually happens.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a shame because it had so much potential. Like especially like you said, like the build-up. You're like, wow, this is this is something I can watch regularly and enjoy it.
yeah,
And
it
at
would have
the
been
end-
awesome.
And at the end, it's like, what?
I wound up angry.
Yeah, I'm just like,
in the Salomon
dude.
episode, I was so mad. I was like, because like I really cared. The way they built it up, the way they built the story, I
Yeah.
actually gave a shit who won.
Yeah.
And like, if any of these people could beat Brian's car. And I never got to find out the answer to that.
But we did talk about this in terms of that episode specifically and Brian. We're pretty sure he did that on purpose.
Yeah, okay.
Like-
so yeah,
like, that
it's
is
possible he might have false started
Right.
on purpose to preserve his own ego. I don't know
It
him that
fits
well. I
into-
met him, talked to him for a little bit, but like
It
I
fits
can't
into his,
say that,
like,
but
yeah,
it's
fits
possible.
Yeah, I agree.
he wouldn't want to necessarily tarnish his own reputation by losing to some, beat up pickup truck.
Yeah, right.
I get it. I do get it. Drag racing's not his thing, whatever. But like,
yeah,
I would've liked
he
to
didn't
have
know how to
seen-
turn on launch control.
which I think is BS because I'm pretty sure I've heard him in other podcasts talk about using the launch
Yeah, I'm
control
sure
before.
there was
So
a little bit-
I think he knows.
I think
how
there
to
was a
use it.
little bit of TV.
That was a
in
bit
there.
of a TV thing there, but I'm pretty sure I've heard him say that before. But so there's a little bit of that, but I don't know. You can't have that good of a build up and then not have the conclusion people are looking for.
Yeah.
So
And even
Yeah.
even if you didn't even if it was like a fall in your face ending, have some studio. I don't know, something that makes the last race seem epic. It's
Yeah.
seriously just let's find an airstrip and let's put one little traffic light thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. I get it. This is built in your garage, nothing too fancy, but something a little special. I don't know. Maybe get a legitimate.
yeah, the race sequence itself was very dry.
Yeah, at least make it a legitimate light, drag strip light.
Yeah.
They just use some street light you find at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, and if it would be easier for them to produce, it would be better if they just had one-on-one races
the
and
tournament.
and a bracket format. So the winners of the first two race each other, and that winner is the winner.
Right.
I'd be fine with that. But it's just the fact that you had this with the Salomon race is him and the Camaro did not start. Nobody started at the same time. We never actually found out how fast any of those cars are.
Nope.
And that was the whole reason I stuck around
Yep.
watching the show.
Yep.
So I think that's a fault on the producers. And it's guys, I mean, how many other reality shows, quote unquote, fake so much shit?
Yep.
It's you couldn't at least not fake, but produce this one aspect to make it fulfilling to the viewer.
Yeah,
That's pretty
'cause-
bad production.
Yeah, I totally.
I think it's awful.
I totally
it's
agree.
awful.
And I think one small thing they can do to enhance the show a little bit with if they were to not change anything is actually announce their top speed when they cross the line and the time.
That would be awesome.
Even if they didn't go into it, hey, you did X, you did 120 miles an hour at, I don't know.
You know what? One way they could get around this is if they at least did a dry run first. So even if they left the race exactly as it is, and you can false start and stuff, they should have the car alone, each car alone, do a dry run of the course on its own. Mm-hmm. Tell you trap speed, tell you time. Sure. So you'd have an idea of what it could do on its own, right? And then you have the race itself. I'd be okay with it then.
Yeah, because the viewer is going to be like, oh, on paper, this guy's going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Or and you could have you could be like, oh, well, the Lamborghini did a false start, but that Mitsubishi thing trapped faster than the Lambo anyway, so maybe it is faster than the Lambo. You know what I mean? Right. Like that would at least give the viewer some type of a something for the end, whereas I just felt like I was holding nothing at the end. It was awful.
Yeah,
I think we've said this show.
Yeah,
we've hit it. I just hope if they keep doing this, they fix these problems, because it's close. I really loved the build-up parts of the show where they highlight the people in the cars.
Yep.
So, I hope if they do keep at it, they need to fix this.
Yeah, and I think for the episodes I've watched, which I've watched, I think 3 full ones so far, or now 4, since we just watched one. I think they do a really good job with having the nice car, quote unquote nice car, be a douchebag. So
be viewable. It's like the last one was this kid with the Eminem haircut and 6 girlfriends. He's like, monogamy's not really for me, because whatever. Hey, look, choose your lifestyle, dude. But
yeah, I guess.
But he's like the quintessential I'm 30 and my dad bought me a McLaren with. Or whatever, I think he made his own money actually, or somehow. But he's like, I'm 30 and I drive a McLaren. I have 6 girlfriends. He's the stereotype of what you would think.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure that's very selectively chosen.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, they're gonna pick if they can select that, why can't they at least?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if all the production that goes into it, and then when the part that matters, the climax of the episode, they can't do that. That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if the whole thing was rinky-dink.
It's probably just to save costs on it, to be honest.
All they had to do is back up.
No, I know, but
start again.
Just renting this space. I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving.
It just doesn't seem that hard.
Benefit of the doubt.
You know what I mean? I'm with you if it was a really between going to what they have and a really well produced where you zoom in on the cars as they're moving wah 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 if they did that kind of Hollywood type of thing, that'd be hard.
Yeah, I think if you mix this show, Fastest Car, with I think Motor Trend's tuned drag race, that would be perfect, because I think Motor Trend does a good job.
They do an amazing job
with the actual race.
Everybody starts.
The build-up's a little. Time. I mean, granted, the show's way shorter, but I think if you mix in the build-up of Fastest Car,
that race is exactly what they need.
Exactly.
Just everybody starts at the same time, and whatever happens.
Exactly.
That's all we're asking
Just
for.
Have
I don't care about the production.
Have a baby.
Use a run where everybody starts and gets a fair chance.
Yep.
That's all we're saying.
Yep.
Okay, we beat this horse to death.
Yeah. So
next round.
Go watch it yourself.
For sure. All right, so the next topic is something that I've been feeling about, because last week, or the end of last week, Subaru, it was broken that Subaru, or well, I guess when you're hearing this will be a couple weeks ago, but Subaru released a notice that they're going to be finally adding horsepower to the STI. All the way up to 310 from 305, which is 5 up from my car's brand new horsepower of 300 in 2004 with the same engine.
Sure.
Okay, so this is a big pet peeve of mine, because I'm not sure some of these Japanese manufacturers seem to understand the way. Now, some of them do. Some of them really seem to not grasp how the American high-performance market works in terms of, the need to constantly be improving between models. So,
what do you mean by improving? Just
raising the bar of performance,
okay,
right?
Fair.
So, when my STI came out in 2004, it was a bona fide M3 Porsche 911 Corvette killer
with an interior of a Corolla.
But it was a rally car. It wasn't trying to be nice. You know what I mean? But performance wise, it could hang with an M3. It could hang with a 911. Yep. It was on that caliber, right? Same conversation, same kind of level of performance.
Yeah, in certain ways.
The new one hasn't changed since then. It still is about the same amount of power, but the rest of the market has changed. So its relative place in the market is way down. It is not the same relative car as it was when I bought it.
Because the Evo died?
No, it's because the M3 now has like mid 400 horsepower. The Porsche 911 has high 300s at the low end and mid 400s at the higher end of the Carrera models.
Right.
So like, the STI to be in the same conversation would need at least like 380 horsepower.
Yeah.
So like, why they couldn't do that when it's so easy to do? Now keep in mind, tuners are able to do it with basic modifications. So I don't think it's that big of a step.
Warranty?
Yeah, but so you build the car a little stronger. I mean, there's 1,000 ways you could go into this, but the point is, Subaru has now had 2 generations since my car,
right?
To plan this out.
That's a valid.
For me, there's no excuse to not at least be at 350 horsepower. I get if you can't. I get like no 450 horsepower, but like stay in the 300s. But why the hell are we not at least at 350 by now? It's ridiculous. Like, just to bring the level of the performance up. It's insane.
I agree with you on that. I mean, like, I know the heritage is rallying, and I know with rally cars, you don't use that much horsepower. So I will, in that sense, I do see where it comes from. But yeah, granted, I think we talked before, they're out of rally racing now.
They're basically out of it. I mean, they don't compete in WRC, I don't believe at this point. And
so before.
Whereas when they built my car, the same year my car was built, Subaru won WRC. Just gonna throw that in there.
All right, yeah. I mean, with that in mind, like I know rally cars, you don't need that much horsepower.
No.
But
I mean, then again, Group B, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's
tons of horsepower.
Crazy.
I mean,
it's awesome.
Like the jump. We're talking road cars.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Like after this much time, you got this.
Yeah, like 14 years.
Man. Then the question is. Did suspension get that much better?
Yeah, the other aspects of the car have gotten better, but they haven't really raised the bar because on a track, you may be able to carry a little more speed through the corners. The lap times have gotten better, but to really raise the level of performance of a car, you got to be entering those corners faster, and that means more horsepower. At a certain point, you can have a great handling car till the cows come home. If you can only hit a certain speed at the end of each straightaway, the only way to raise your performance level is to give the car more power.
I'm curious. Have you noticed anywhere online or anywhere from personal or whatever, like people kind of upset about this, like you are?
I think a lot of people. Well, I mean, the saving grace is that this is like a really easy issue to solve with like about $2,000 in modifications. So anybody who really cares just goes and gets their cat back or whatever. And,
But I'm saying like just as like you see the news release, you're like, what the heck, like that type of thing. Like you are reacting right now. Like, do you know anyone that's reacting that way?
You mean like in terms of like the press?
Yeah, just like your friends' opinions. Or
everybody. I have other Subaru friends who have this similar type of opinions, but like in terms of like official content, I mean, I just wrote an article about this.
No, not official content, just
like opinions, shared opinions. The press just kind of kisses their ass all the time because they want press cars and like. I mean, I think the general populace would love to see the STI competing with the Focus RS.
But are they that upset about it? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, people are still buying the cars.
Exactly. I think that's the reason why I asked that is I'm not saying this is justified, and I do think they should be, like after this much time, since your STI, like we only got 5 out of, like, what is that, 1 a year? That's less than 1 a year.
What do you mean?
Wait, you said, what's your horsepower rated?
My stock was 300.
Okay, so
the next, it took them, it was the same amount of power in 08 when they refreshed the Impreza.
Yep.
And then, they refreshed the WRX again when they brought WRX and STI again in 2011. They had another chance when they refreshed that generation. In 2015, they come out with 305. And now they're bumping it up to 310 at this generation's midlife.
So we can all say it's like really, really slow to gain 10 horsepower. Yes, granted, aftermarket.
But it's also gained 200 or 300 pounds over my car.
Fair.
So, like, obviously, the problem is that... So, I mean, what I was saying to you earlier is that the new STI, in its relative standing in the market, is about equivalent to the WRX back when I bought my car.
Yeah.
The WRX back then was, like, 227 horsepower, but it was equivalent to most of the things that, like, the current STI is equivalent to in terms of, like... power and performance, like a V6 Camry.
I will say this. I think this is where Nick and I kind of see things a little differently. Like, Nick is definitely more, I think I can, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you are very more fired up about certain I guess, press releases like this. I'm more like,
as an owner,
no,
and the
right.
Subarus specifically,
No, yeah,
I've owned mine for like 11 years.
But even like other
I really
things,
want to care about the new STI, but until they really change it and up the
Yeah,
ante a
I
little
get
bit,
that.
I don't give a shit.
right? I get
You
that.
know what I mean?
But I think like in
about buying
general,
one
you
or
are
anything.
like you are kind of have that approach, which is I think that's why we jive, because I don't.
Right.
I'm like, all right, as a business, seeing
I
like
see it as a business, and you still see them selling the cars. How many new WRXs do you see?
exactly like that, and
Yeah.
also kind of the down. We talked about this on our last, or it's not this 2 podcasts before, like the downfall of Mitsubishi.
Yeah.
We said like after they killed the Evo, like that was it, right? Like if you killed the STI, like God forbid, I don't.
They'd survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point.
But they would lose. They would lose.
Yeah,
like,
they would
there's
lose,
two
like, a
demographics they
pretty
appeal
big
to.
chunk.
They lose one of their demographics.
Yeah, like huge, like
Yeah,
pretty big.
it would
chunk.
be big.
It'd be a stupid decision, but
Yeah, but they could still sell it to the moms.
exactly,
of the
and then
world.
they would have the cross check and the force.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
exactly.
think, to be fair, like I think the STI and the WRX, that whole image carries the cool factor
No,
of
totally.
the rest of
I'm
it,
not-
of the
I am not
XV
denying
cross
that.
track and everything like that.
I'm not
like,
denying that at all. What I'm saying is, I think they have enough of a market share there, and they understand that's where they make the most money. Because the general
Well,
population
but,
buys that.
I mean,
So like,
that's
why
true,
do we?
but that doesn't making a real STI. If anything, that would give them more profits with which to make a real STI.
Right. And
Right?
I guess it's their decision.
Like that's
to
what Porsche does.
reinvest their profits. Oh, Porsche's a different
Well,
brand.
Porsche makes the Macan
Okay.
and the Cayenne, and then they also use that
I will
money
say
to
this.
develop a GT2 RS
Yep,
and a
totally.
GT3 RS.
Totally different price bracket.
Totally different
and
price bracket, but still.
Totally different, like, brand.
I'm not
ethos.
talking about a $100,000 STI. I'm talking about what they really should make is like a STI. Like leave the current STI where it is, even call it an STI still. Make like an STI R spec.
an STY.
That would be a $50,000 car, and give that 400 horsepower with better internals and all the tech you could throw at it with a really engaging, hardcore driving experience.
You
And
think
that would be
people would buy
about
that?
the same performance or more than an RS3 for less money than an RS3. It would not be as nice as an RS3,
Yeah.
but it would be way more of a driver's car. And I think they would sell the shit out of those.
I don't know about. I wouldn't.
Especially if it had a
I
manual.
wouldn't back you up on that claim, but
I do. Absolutely. Because, dude, RS3 is only available as a paddle shift. It's a nice car. It's awesome.
See,
but it's also like a
that's where you
$60,000 to
get into,
$70,000 car. And like,
paddle shift. Then what about the PDK, man?
no, it's a nice package. But like, if you're looking for like a real driver's car, like the Subarus have always been, that car at $50,000 with the most hardcore driving package, again, they're not going to sell a shit ton of those things, but relatively for a high performance car like that, I think they'd probably sell as many of those as Audi sold RS3s.
Yeah, I can see that because, obviously price point and all that.
But what would their how much do they have to add? I think their profit margins at that point on a car like that would be way higher than it is on a normal STI.
But then, like you said, like you can easily gain that much in the aftermarket.
Yeah, you
versus
can.
the
You
RS3 or getting like an S. Well, that would be.
Well, you can gain a lot on an RS3 too.
Yeah, right.
Tuning's like over 500 horse.
Yeah, and then about how much are you paying to get it tuned?
Well, still, even that's not. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not for somebody who can afford a brand new RS3.
No, right.
Like,
that makes sense.
$2,000
But I'm saying
for
like
a tuning
for
package isn't too
Subaru
bad.
owners to get from STI to STI, R spec or whatever it's going to be, I think it's way cheaper. Like,
Well, I mean, the STI. I mean, that's the thing is you also have to remember my car brand new, $30,000 car. Now, granted, 04, 10 years ago with inflation and
all
stuff,
that
but
stuff. But
the point is that was a $30,000 car, and now the current STI is a $40,000 car. They've made the interior nicer and stuff
Way
to justify
nicer.
it, way nicer.
way nice.
And that was my biggest takeaway when I drove the 2016
It looks
STI.
decent.
It like actually feels okay for 40 grand,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's where they focused on
what
improving.
That's what
But
you need in this market, regardless.
They did need it. They needed. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
so
have
just-
the real shitty interior and cost $40.
Yeah, not in this day and age. No way. You can't.
You
get
got to
by
have
with
a decent bit. But like, I'm not, even 400 horsepower, fine. Let's call it 350, right? Why the hell, with all these other improvements, why couldn't they just add a little more boost? Because you can do it with a stage 1 tune.
Yeah.
No tangible modifications at all. Even with that shitty downpipe, you can still get like 340, 350
Yeah.
with just the tune. So
Yeah,
why not do that from the factory?
I get what you're saying,
You know
and
what I
I'm
mean?
not disagreeing. I just don't know. I like it doesn't seem logical. I'm on the same page. It doesn't seem logical to me. Like, why? It's the same engine.
Yeah.
You had all this time to develop it. You had the entire aftermarket to audit. And
yeah.
You know, like,
exactly.
grab the 5 best tuners and just be like, hey, what do you guys do to this engine?
Yeah, like...
And like, okay,
can
can we
work
do
with
this
them.
on the factory? And
Yeah.
yes, then all right, let's do it.
It's literally just a boost program. Like, turn it up to 16 pounds of boost from 14. Done.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me. But, so that's one example of this larger point that I have. And so I'm going to bring up a couple examples here, and then we can discuss. Sure. The other example of basically, like, so there's a good side of it and a bad side of it. Mm-hmm. We'll start with the bad side.
Here we go.
So the bad side is that a lot of the time I've noticed that Japanese manufacturers will bring a car, a good performance car to the American market, and then they will leave it alone. It'll be awesome when it comes out in the marketplace where it exists, and then time will go on. 5 years, 10 years, somewhere in that range, and it won't have changed with the rest of the market. So, like, so one of the biggest ones is the Honda NSX. Came out early 90s or even late 80s. What it says 91. So, yeah, really early 90s. And that was an equivalent competitor of a Ferrari 348. Yep. Which at the time was 300 horsepower in the NSX, I think at 276 or something like that. So it was in the same conversation. It was light. It was, it was the same kind of supercar package back then. And that was awesome. So, a few years go by. 10 years go by. 15 years. They decided to kill it. And when they killed it, they had given it a facelift and stuff. But it only had 290 horsepower and it was a $90,000 car. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, and meanwhile, the Ferrari had gone from the 348 to the 355, 375 horse from 300.
And you still break
360.
Down faster than this car.
Oh, yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. We're not comparing reliability.
Yeah,
we're talking about performance.
Just yanking
like, the 360, then in the, around 2000, had 400 horsepower. And then right as the NSX was being killed off, they brought out, and Ferrari was at the F430 with 500 horsepower. So, like, the fact that they never even upped the ante a little bit, really, like meaningful amount of power. Like, they didn't really up the ante at all. Like, that bothers me that they just, it's like you think, the interest is waning, but you didn't evolve. It's like, anything that doesn't evolve, like in nature, doesn't really survive for that long. And just, you can see, like, things waned. They sold in 1990, we're looking at Wikipedia right here. There's over 1,000 NSXs sold between 90 and 92. Yep. And then it gradually tapers down. Each
year, by the way.
Each year. Yep. And then you go to the mid-hundreds, and then it goes back up in 95, and there's a little bit of a refresh. And then you go steady down from there. Really, like,
plateaus.
We also have to realize, like, the Ferrari 355 came out in 1995. So after 95, it was not on the same level as a Ferrari, and you can clearly see the sales numbers waning all the way up through the 350 era of the 355 and the 360.
Yeah.
That was its big appeal. Was like, it was on all the magazine covers with the Ferraris and stuff. It was a Ferrari killer, and it was reliable, and blah, 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 blah. It was awesome. But they just didn't keep it updated. Like, and you don't have to necessarily match them, but, like, okay, so Ferrari goes to 375 horsepower with the 355. Bring the NSX to 330. You know what I mean? Bring it up just a little bit. Get a little more power out of that V6. It's doable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying outlandish things. I'm saying just they didn't seem to be cognizant of how far they were falling behind. And eventually you just see, like, it was so far behind at the end of the day. Like, it had less horsepower. It was a $90,000 Acura, and it had less horsepower than an Evo or an STI, basically. You know what I mean? Or as much power as those cars for less than half the price. And it just, they didn't seem to be aware of the market around them.
I will say this. I mean, I generally, yes, I think they should have done something more in terms of internals and performance. Maybe they did. Actually, wait, no. They did have a model, the NSX type.
Yeah, they did have that, but that wasn't an American market car either. And that was like mostly chassis. I don't think they actually had too much like engine mods on that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much maybe
basic engine mods.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. But
it was mostly like, and anyway, don't get me wrong, that's an awesome car, and I think the NSX is an awesome car.
Very expensive right now.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love the 05 NSX. Like, it's a sick car. They obviously hold their value really well.
Yeah,
but when we're talking brand new, and they just They didn't evolve it.
I know you're comparing it to Ferraris, which at the time,
but that's what it was.
No, exactly. Yeah. I'm not denying that. But at this time, Ferrari's brand image is that. You know what I mean? Like their main focus as a company is to make sick, fast performing cars.
Yeah.
Honda, on the other hand,
this is a supercar.
It is.
If Honda's going to make a supercar, make a supercar.
Yeah, you know but it's more so like
and they did.
As a focus. Like, is this the focus? Does it inspire the rest of the company? Yes, for sure.
It carries the brand.
Yeah, but in terms of money, does it carry the brand? No. Which
there's arguments for and against that.
Yeah,
like the Halo car model, and then you use that to inspire the sales of other cars.
Yeah, or you use the technology from it. That's like a pretty traditional thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I would I would agree with you. Like they do, they move pretty slow, and that is kind of what we kind of discussed before in terms of like Asian culture, specifically Japanese brands or culture. They're very safe, which is why,
and that we'll get to the good aspects of it in a few minutes for sure. But so another issue. Let's talk about a different one. The new one currently on sale, the Toyota 86, the GT86, the Scion FRS formerly, and the Subaru BRZ. So this is a car that we saw coming. The enthusiast market was really excited about it.
Super excited
when it came out, and we're loving it. And we're thinking, okay, this is their new sports car platform.
Entry level.
Good performance. I can't. Everybody's thinking when it comes out, awesome car. Can't wait to see the turbo model. The turbo model was never in the fucking plans to begin with, clearly, because here we are, like 5-6 years later, still waiting, and it's just like, guys. Like, this wasn't even a secret. This wasn't even like things were different back then. Like, everybody from the start was like, can't wait to see the BRZ STI. Like, did that not make it to the corporate headquarters? Like, what is wrong with that?
It was a collaboration with Toyota.
Yeah.
No.
Subaru has Subaru engine, Subaru turbos.
Exactly. I think that's exactly why they didn't do it. Because if they do that, then why the hell would you buy a Scion? Or, now it's...
Well, no, but you do it to both of them. You make, like, the Subaru STI, and then you do the same thing they did with the base model.
So many...
You do, like, the FRS Turbo or the GT86 Turbo.
Right. I'm sure there's so much politics in that, though. Like, just because they collabed, the technology they would share, the factories would kind of mingle, and, like...
I don't think that's that big of a hurdle if they did it for both models.
Like
man.
Big companies, like
they did the same thing for the base models.
You want to move a rock, you got to go through like 5 different.
You tune them differently. That's what they did with the base models. Was they just tune the Scion a little sharper?
But I guess it's whose turbos are you going to use?
Well, they were already using Subaru's engines.
No, right.
So they would use Subaru's turbos.
Sure.
And like, I don't think it poses any bigger issue than the car itself already did. Here's the big issue for me with this is that why wasn't this plan A? You know what I'm saying? When you're hashing out the car in general, how come your plan was to begin with not to have the base model and the turbo model?
I agree.
Everybody in the world was like wanting the turbo model. All of their marketing people had to have known that. You couldn't be in the car sphere and not have read articles about people saying that. Like the fact that their head was that far up their ass for me just pisses me off.
This is where I agree, but I agree that yes, people were definitely looking for the turbo model. Marketing should have been like, all right, red flag. Yeah, we should probably offer a turbo model.
It's the most obvious.
You make more money, like all that stuff. But I will say this: it's called the GT86, right? What is it heritage for?
The A86.
Okay. What was
Drifting.
the A? Yes. And how strong was the motor?
What do you mean?
The
original motor?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but the original motor was also not a flat engine. It wasn't a boxer.
No, fair.
I get what you mean.
But
with
that's
heritage,
that's why they built the NSX the way there's. Or I get that's a little different, but they their kind of allegiance to their roots, I guess, of that.
Yeah, but modern drift cars. Yeah, most of them are turbocharged.
This car,
needs Prius tires on it to be able to drift because it doesn't have power.
I'm not saying I don't want a turbo, which I am 100,000% for.
And they just gave it all to the aftermarket. I mean, the aftermarket does the supercharger and turbocharger kits and stuff. But people are making it happen. That's why I love the aftermarket. It's just if the car companies fuck up, you just do what you want anyway.
You should just buy a BRZ and just grab your engine and just stick it in it.
Swap the STI motor.
Yep.
No, I already know the layout of the turbo from the WRX wouldn't work in the packaging of that car.
The new
one, maybe. I don't know what the turbo underneath. I don't know, but it just bothers me that wasn't the plan from the very beginning.
Yeah.
When it was so obvious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So much market hype.
And it's not even about not changing. It's like, guys, this should have been the original plans of this car. It came out in the information age when it was pretty obvious what people wanted, and they've sold pretty well. How much better would they have sold if they brought out the fast versions?
Yeah, I will say I will bet on it just being politics.
There's got to be some internal politics. Or something.
It has to be.
It just from the very beginning, man.
Just your reaction. Your reaction to that is every reason for it to be politics, because I think anyone with half a brain that's somewhat of an enthusiast, there should be a turbo model. Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah, it just seems so basic.
You're using a Boxster engine from Subaru.
Who makes turbos?
Who has turbos? Who's had turboed engines for
decades.
Forever?
Yeah,
and it's why? Yeah, why wouldn't you do that?
It's for sure. It's so simple.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'd be really curious to talk to somebody who's worked there, and if they knew, I'd be really curious to hear that.
We probably could get someone from.
I would love to hear from somebody in the know at Toyota on why they were so seemingly asininely stupid about bringing out the 86, because it was just so clear to me. It's one of those things. The NSX is you're talking 15 years. They just didn't adapt. They killed it at the beginning. The GT86 missed it from the beginning, clearly, from conception, if they weren't planning this. So I don't know what happened there, but it's a great little car for what it is. But they just
I think,
speaking of blue balls, they blue balls the entire car enthusiast market with that car.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But it's still a great car.
And they keep teasing us with these STI models, the TS or whatever, and it's oh my god, it's a new one. You see the heading picture. You're did they finally make a turbo one? No, they didn't.
Yeah,
fuck me.
Those renderings look nice though.
Oh, dude, it's just
come
on.
Those look amazing.
It's one of those things. Just
watch, they're gonna release it when it's too late.
Watch them release it before this airs. In a week.
Ultimate slap in the face.
We'd have to take it out.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So the other one is the Honda S2000.
Ooh.
Another one on Honda. One of the best sports cars of our modern time, I would say. Overall, in terms of the execution, its place in the market, when it exists, the design, timeless. That car is one of the best modern sports cars, since the millennium of anybody, and the market values reflect that. When Honda makes a great car, holy shit, they make a great car. They know how to they nail the dynamics in every single way.
Mm-hmm.
The engine in that car is really something special. It's just an awesome car, and they absolutely killed it. But they made the same mistake that they made with the NSX. And that is that, they brought it out at the millennium, basically. And, really late 90s or, for the year 2000, basically. And, it had the highest specific output engine on the market.
Yep.
It was the Japanese version.
Was it the highest revving or no?
I think it was at the time for a production car.
Was it $9,000?
It was $9,000 from a 2-liter, and it made 250-ish horsepower.
That's awesome.
In the Japanese spec, it was a little bit tamer for the American market, but just a little bit. And then they then so that car at the time was amazing. And keep in mind, this is a time when 250 horsepower. A base Porsche Boxster made 200 at the time. A Boxster S made 250. So this was on par with a Porsche Boxster S.
That's a fair comparison.
That was, and it was. Granted, the pricing was, it was kind of more similar to a Boxster S. It was not a Miata. At the time, the Miata was way, way, way cheaper. So even though the packaging is like a Miata and the general look and people in the used market compare them to Miatas, they really are more in the Z4 or the Boxster range.
Yeah.
That's where they always were.
Sure.
So, basically, so they brought it on. It was really, really well done, really competitive. And then they refreshed it in 04, 05 with the AP2, and they gave it a slightly bigger motor that didn't rev quite as high. It still revved to like 88 some,
Yeah,
eight
it was
something,
84 or something.
80. Yeah, it was over $8,000, and it had a little bit more power, a little bit more mid-range torque. It was still a really nice car, still very competitive, and even at that point, like it still was fairly competitive with like a Boxster.
Yep.
I think the 987 they upped the Boxster S to like 280 or so horsepower.
So
So
the gauge cluster is still better.
yeah, well, dude, that thing was like with the digital readout, like oh my god, it was amazing.
Freaking race car.
Such a sick car. So like it was genuinely still competitive at that point. So I'm not even saying they should have upped the ante at that point. I actually think the S2000 was fine for its entire life. But now we can discuss the other factors later. But I have heard when it went out of production in 2009, the car had been out for really 10 years.
Yeah.
And relatively unchanged. I mean, they did do some fairly major, like, tangible changes, but the level of performance hadn't changed, really, in any meaningful way. And they brought out the Club Racer, which was really, like, a hardcore version. It was awesome, but again, they didn't really up the ante to the next generation. And, there never was a next generation because, of a variety of factors. But I did hear at least one report from Honda say they just didn't see any demand from the car anymore. And
we could, go ahead.
Well, and there are again factors we're going to talk about,
big factors.
But big factors. But the simple thing is, even without the external factors, the economy and stuff, if you leave a car like that, a niche, this is a niche anyway, right?
Yep.
If you leave a niche car like that on the market for 10 years, in the span of that 10 years, anybody who wants one is gonna find a way to get one. So I think by 2009, pretty much everybody... All right, so yeah, here it goes over. It goes to 2010, 2011 even. But in the American market, it was done at 2009.
Yeah.
So this car, like, anybody who really wanted one in a 10-year span is going to find a way to get one.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's just like the fact that it kind of was kind of a been there, done that thing by then. And I think people were ready for the next S2000. Everyone was thinking about the S3000 or whatever. And like, but it never came. So I don't think it was like that people didn't want a car like that as much as it was, okay, we've done this one, time for the next one. Now, and I would say that the residual value of the S2000s proves that, at least in a longer term standpoint. I think people really want a successor to that car. Now, obviously, the entire world fell apart in 2008.
Yeah, we can see that by the numbers. We're seeing the sales numbers here. I mean, this might not be totally accurate, but it gives you a ballpark. 2008.
2007 is where the financial slowdown happened.
Yep,
and then we recognized the recession in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously that was not sports. Sports cars were the back
like
of the
a two-door, not very moving friendly. No, just it's an extra car. It's not a
exactly.
Yeah,
it's really not a daily.
Yeah, 2008, roughly 2,500 units sold. 2009. I mean, this is the last production year, but 795. So I mean,
and that's down from numbers of over 9,000, over 7,000 for like the years leading up. When in the boom of the mid 2000s and early 2000s, you're just seeing like over 7,000 units sold.
Yeah,
and for a car like that, that's pretty damn good.
Right, and I think you did say like, where was the successor? Yeah, obviously the recession's a big factor.
So yeah, I'm not for one second saying they should have brought out a 2010 S3000 because I think it was pretty clear at that point that the world needed to be rebuilt.
Oh yeah.
But how about by like 2013, 2014, cars are coming back.
We could talk about this next time, but you just made me think of a topic for next time.
Okay.
What about the forgotten cars of the Depression and the Recession?
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah,
because all right, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, but it's,
but yeah, but clearly the market wants a successor to that car because the values are so high.
I think if they could develop something similar with a little more horsepower,
like 300,
sure,
right?
300
with a high revving engine,
destroy.
like holy shit.
You think people would buy that or Actually,
or even just put the Type R engine in it.
Ooh.
I think people would tolerate a turbocharged car like that. For sure.
Is it the Ariel Atom that has a Civic engine in it?
I believe it does.
Yeah, I think it's
one of those.
I think supercharged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, these are amazing engines. Honda really knows how to make engines, and when they do a good job, they do a phenomenal job.
Yep. That's right. That's why like
but
people build crazy.
We're here almost 10 years after this.
Yeah.
And they still haven't done anything. And I get for a little while there they weren't prioritizing performance, but we're back to that. We have the Type R.
They're gonna release a S3, whatever the label's gonna be, and it's gonna have NSX technology and Type R engine.
You know what? I'd be okay with that.
Right?
That would be if it's rear wheel drive.
Imagine if a Roadster was rear wheel drive. No, it's
hold on. The only thing that means it ain't gonna be stick.
That is true.
Probably not. But
no, it could be stick. It could be stick.
Yeah, I guess in theory.
No, because
they were dual clutch with the
Honda was
with
one of the only. I mean, this is like.
Well, yeah, they did.
They did have stick hybrids.
They did. They had the what was it? The CRZ. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the CRZ, and before that, if you're talking regular consumer cars.
Oh, that's right. The Insight was stick?
And Civic.
Oh, no way. I didn't even know that.
Back when I was in high school, I was looking at a whole
shit, dude.
Civic hybrid stick.
Oh, my God. That's pretty crazy. So they have the technology.
I highly doubt they will do that, but yes, like, it could happen, possibly.
It could. I mean, even if it's a dual clutch, I would just want it to exist. But the thing about Honda is Honda actually makes, in terms of just the feeling of the action of the gearbox, Honda makes some of the best manual shifters of anybody.
Yeah,
I didn't really just crisp.
I didn't really know until I actually drove a Honda recently.
They're amazing. Like even just like Civic Si or something. Oh,
yeah, it feels good.
It's
very it's very confidence inspiring. Just like it feels good.
Yeah, it's just real slick, real
really nice,
clean, crisp motion.
Not like a freaking.
Yeah, it's not like spongy or anything like that.
Car.
But yeah, I mean, so. You know, I'm hoping they're going to come out with a new one of those. I really think they should have come out with the successor to that car by like 2015.
Yeah.
By then I think it was like, okay, guys, let's get going here.
But yeah, you're right.
They were still working on the NSX back then.
But yeah, going back to
the
bigger discussion, I think we hit this topic home in terms of like the trend of Japanese manufacturers. Yeah, I feel like if they kind of took a little bit from European or American marketing or product development in terms of I guess improving on what's been done already. I think Japanese manufacturers can kill it.
I think they could. Their execution is amazing. Now, granted, maybe the fact that they do take their time is why their execution is so good.
We could talk about that.
But like the problem, they let their products get very stale before any changes are made, and I think they make these. They seem to make these assumptions that it's because nobody wants the products anymore, but they don't seem. I don't see them recognizing that they haven't changed shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I want to see it. Like, okay, maybe we need to up the ante.
I will say this: I love when a manufacturer doesn't change anything or changes very little when I buy a car.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
And all right, that's a great segue to the second part of this and the good side.
I love that.
I was literally just thinking about that while I'm looking about cars right now. And I'm thinking, I want to buy the second to last or last model year of that car. Because then all the problems are ironed out. You don't buy the first year. You just...
Even, for me, it's more design. It's the people that bought the new version, that looks very similar to my car.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like when I look at it, maybe I'm a little too superficial in that sense. But when I look at the car, I'm like, yeah, you sucker. Like, that pretty much is my car. I see
exactly.
a little bit of, fender flare. All right, whatever. I pretty much... my car's 3 years old. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah, so, like the guy that bought an 01 S2000 in 2007. The guy who bought the 07 just paid, double. Exactly. And he's just like, oh, man. Of course. I love doing that.
It's such a small, nitpicky thing.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. After I buy a car, I'm like... I really hope the next year they keep it relatively the
don't
same.
Change it.
If they do some crazy facelift, I'm like, and I like it, I'm like, damn it!
Damn, now I've got the old shit.
Yeah.
But that does sort of segue in back with what I was with the design being finalized and stuff, and all the kinks being ironed out. The converse of this is their designs are tried and true. And, Japanese cars, I think, are unquestionably seen as the most reliable cars of any in the world. They have that reputation. And if you notice, like, cars like Lexus and stuff are very slow to adapt to like turbocharging again and stuff, and that's partially because they want to make sure it's reliable and will hold to their brand before they implement it. Whereas the Germans do everything first, and it all breaks. And it's awesome when it's brand new, but when you buy it used, woo, it's gonna be expensive to fix.
Or you just do what Fiat Chrysler does and just do it, and then
do it and let your people do the R. Let the customer do the R&D.
Exactly.
Oh God, that's a whole separate thing there. Yeah. But no, I mean what I love. All right, so one of the cars that I
is the R&D department.
It really is. So I mean, two of the Japanese cars that I really love.
Fanboy.
The Miata.
Yep, naturally.
And the Lexus F models.
Mm-hmm.
Just those cars are the embodiment of the same philosophy, where it actually really works.
Yeah.
And they they are kind of stagnant if you look at them relative, but I would argue for the Miata, what is the Miata's competitor at this point? And really, throughout its life cycle, how many direct competitors of the Miata has the Miata ever really had?
You could have said the S2000.
But remember, pricing-wise, that was priced more like the Porsche.
You're right.
You know what I mean? The Miata has always been like a low $20,000 car starting price.
Oh yeah, what was that the Pontiac and the Saturn?
Those tried. They weren't really like sports cars though. They were they were big and wallowy and like
drive down pieces with the top
they were
down.
Cruiser mobiles that like sort of looked like a Miata.
It's like when you drive that when you had that racing game in the arcades when you're younger, when you double tap the gas and you flip up.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they were going for.
Yeah,
with the Solstice.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, but I think the only one that's ever really hit the Miata where it lived was the Toyota MR2, and that was mid-engine, wasn't as practical. But really cool car, but they didn't sell that many because I think the practicality aspect was a bit compromised. But that was the only car that I think really ever apples to apples competed with the Miata until the GT86. And even the GT86 isn't quite, I mean, it's apples to apples in that they're both small rear-wheel drive cars. Entry-level sports cars. But when you drive a GT86 and you drive a Miata, I mean, well, one, the roof comes off one. The other's a coupe. So already, if you care about that, either way, your mind's already made up. If you don't, between the two of them, they have very different characters. They're very different types of cars.
Yeah, I think if you go to any review, any reputable, why am I brain farting right now? If you go to like Motor Trend and watch any of those reviews, I think they all conclude the same thing.
Yeah, the Miata's better.
I don't know about that. They don't say that, and I know they're not supposed to like take sides.
I'll tell you right now,
but it's
my honest opinion, Miata's a better road car. GT86 is a better track car.
I agree. Pretty much. That's it.
I think it's basically like
no debate.
On the road, unless you just hate convertibles, I think having the top come off is an extremely valuable thing to add to a sports car on the street. Just on the nice days, it lets you take full advantage.
Like 2 years ago, I would have said, whatever, man. Like, who cares? It looks stupid. Until I actually got in a convertible and drove, I was like, wow, this is really fun.
On a nice day.
It feels like, it's...
Especially if it sounds good. If you
get
the exhaust sound coming back at you off the trees. Oh, my. I mean, like, some of my best driving memories of any cars, Miatas up to Lambos, are in a drop top. And it was just like...
It's nice.
It was because it just adds that much more... appeal to the experience.
Yeah. But back to your
point.
The
Miata, I guess, it works for the Miata. This stagnant philosophy of like not changing too much works for the Miata because it really is kind of in a class of one. So the Miata is a Miata and doesn't really have anybody to compete.
It's a Miata class, right? There's racing.
It's kind of its own thing, yeah. I mean,
it has its own class in
tracks. And they've upped it to 181 horsepower, and that obviously is only like 30 horsepower, 20 some horsepower, but you know what? It's percentage-wise, it's way the hell more than Subaru's up the STI.
Yep.
So that's why we were excited about that little bump and not excited about Subaru's.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still haven't changed it.
What are some other cars that we could compare that are like
for Miata?
No. Like reliability,
I think the Lexus F models is a good way.
That could be comparable to like other.
Well, to the other Europeans. Let's talk about that. I mean, so if you look at a GSF, right? I think the GSF is a good specific car. It's a 5 Series competitor in terms of the GS, right? The E-Class. F model, you would think would be like an M5, but it's clearly not because it's 470 horsepower and the M5 is up to 600. Similar car in size.
You talk about the F10, right? Not the newest one.
Or the new one. It doesn't
Really?
matter.
Okay.
The GS just competes with the 5 Series. It's
All right.
those two cars are the same class.
All right.
But
Just wanna...
what Lexus did, and I think is brilliant, is that they knew they were going to use their naturally aspirated 5-liter V8, which is awesome. It's a sick sounding engine. And great performance. They're the last one in that class with a naturally aspirated engine.
Which is a good and bad thing. It's more of a bad thing in terms of performance, though.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. But here's the thing: they didn't price it against the M5 and the E63. Those are $100,000 to $120,000 cars.
Yep.
The Lexus fully loaded is $88,000. It is priced against the 550i. And the difference is you get M5 levels of like chassis and handling and the feeling of like a sports car with the engine and the power of the lower model, but they price it against the lower model. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it's way more of a sports car than a 550i M Sport.
Yeah.
But it's the same price.
It's like going back to its true Lexus roots with the LS.
Yeah. Totally. And I honestly, I love that they did it that way. Because obviously, if they charge $120,000, fuck that car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm saying the F word a lot this time.
I know. It's a very passionate day.
Shouldn't be. Yeah, it's very passionate. But I mean, but the fact that they charged $80,000 for that car, I think makes it work.
But I will say this. At least from a blind consumer, like prices, obviously, that's obviously a big indicator of class, right? But I will say, in terms of like comparing, if you're talking like car reviews or people that are like, oh, what does that compare with? If someone is not as technically savvy, having the F Sport badge immediately, I just think M.
Well, it's not F Sport; it's just F.
Okay, F.
F Sport is like the M Sport. It's like the lower. It just means it has a better suspension.
Right.
Yeah.
So like F, the F model.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, M5. That would be a comparison.
Yeah.
Even though, like you said, the price point and
when you really look at the details.
Right, but in terms of, I guess...
But that's what I like about it, is you get the performance car image.
And you get the badge.
And you get the badge.
And the styling cues and all that stuff.
But you don't pay as much money as an equivalent. And I think it has enough performance. Like, it's still a very fast car.
Right. But when people compare the cars, they're thinking M5.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is kind of...
But you're also going to see the price difference.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
On paper.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I feel like...
car for car, no price, the M5 kills it, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's the badge that would make people compare.
Yeah, that's true.
And then be like, it's, but it's down on all this power and torque and like whatever. So,
but you know what I would say it makes up for it with, even if you did compare the two, and Motor Trend agreed when they compared this to the I want to say E63 maybe or something. It was one of the current ones.
A freaking muscle car.
The twin turbo V8s are very choked off in terms of the sound and the emotional aspect of the driving experience.
Yeah.
And this thing absolutely screams.
It sounds freaking good. Like,
and
wait,
is this
the same engine in the RCF?
Yep, same as the RCF, same as the LC500.
I heard a straight piped RCF.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, but this begs back to the performance question of how much performance do you need? It's not like these cars have like really small horsepower. They're almost 500 horsepower.
Yeah, but it's more like who has a bigger stick type of thing.
I get it. And if you buy the car for that, buy the M5. But for me, it's like I've got 500 horsepower-ish. And with the tune, it gets you there.
Yeah.
But so you can get that much. I mean, in the real world, that's way more than enough power.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just for like a driving experience to have, I think for me, it checks the same box that an M5 would.
Yeah.
Only with more emotion.
Not the new one, though.
I haven't driven the new one.
Yeah.
But I drove the old one. The old one was way faster, but the Lexus sounds so much better.
I would pick the Lexus
and it
over
ain't
the
slow.
F10. But the new M5, I don't know about that. A completely locking rear...
but the Lexus has that.
Sorry.
The Lexus has a mechanical limited slip diff.
Rear-wheel drive, if you want, complete 100%, or you could go all-wheel drive and do crazy launches.
That's great.
At a click of a
button.
button.
But the Lexus is rear-wheel drive with a locking diff already, so...
You can do all-wheel drive. It's capable, and you can do whatever you want.
For me, that doesn't add anything.
Are you kidding
over
me?
the Lexus, because I think...
No.
From a driver's perspective,
no,
for me.
okay, fine, driver, sure, but I'm talking everyday and drive, like everything, like the whole pack. Like the reason why the reason why you buy those cars,
you know what
is,
the Lexus gets back compared to the M5 in favor of that?
What?
Less weight. The Lexus GSF is like a little under 4,100 pounds.
I'm talking practicality and performance, though.
Even if Lexus... The M5 is like 4,400, 4,500 pounds.
Fine.
Like,
even if the Lexus beats...
And it's all weight up in the front. You're going to feel that weight.
Even if the Lexus beats the M5 in terms of practicality, everyday, day-to-day, going out in the snow...
I wouldn't say... going in the snow.
No, I'm talking like just any situation. Like...
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, but I am...
For another $40,000...
I am on the same
with
page...
With another 400 pounds...
I am on the same page as you in terms of... I would get a Lexus.
And with another 250 horsepower.
I would get a Lexus compared... if you're just talking like just enjoyment, like in the canyons, or even, GT.
Like, even if you could afford an M5.
I
would you save the money, or would you buy the M5?
Okay, like realistically, I would buy an M5. Here's why. It's very not related to performance, so this is why.
All right.
I really don't like Lexus's interiors.
Yeah.
And we talked about this many times.
I love. See,
this is like a not very good. This is not
it's
really
subjective as hell.
Yeah, exactly. So
the point is, we wouldn't be fighting over the same car at the same dealership. So
yeah.
You can have your M5. I'd have my GSF.
But
the truth is, I'd have the Alpha over both of them. So.
Yeah. And so it went from reliable.
No, I mean,
tested,
actually,
and then you went to Alpha.
Really, spending my money, it would be a tough call between a Giulia Quadrifoglio and a Lexus GSF.
Oh, Quadrifoglio. I would do
From
that.
a driver's perspective, of course. But if it was a car I was actually gonna like keep and live with and drive every day,
yeah,
man,
man, yeah.
Unless I had a really reliable second car, maybe the Lexus.
It's called the bicycle
or Miata. If I had a Miata too, I'd buy the Alpha.
That's fair.
But yeah, okay. So back to this. So like
reliability.
The Lexuses have the reliability card, and in a way that no other company I think has. And it's as proven, except maybe Porsche now. Porsche is coming up.
Really?
And even Consumer Reports rates them right there with Lexus in terms of build quality and reliability.
I didn't know.
I can attest to it. It's like I've seen these cars age.
But when you need to work on them, you got to open up everything.
Yep, and that's true. When you do have to work on a Porsche, it's way more expensive than a Lexus. Not that Lexuses can't get expensive.
Yep.
They both can break. They just don't break that often.
Yeah, I will say driving a hybrid Lexus. So my girlfriend has an F Sport, the CT200 F Sport. Mm-hmm. I don't fit in it, first of all. So like I do fit in it, but the steering wheel doesn't go high enough, and the seat doesn't go further, down. It's like I'm driving at like my crotch area.
That's so weird.
It sucks. But I would say this, like driving. I know that I think it's an electronic steering rack in that.
Probably,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, almost.
But I will say this: it's really fun to corner that thing.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty fun.
Well, she got the F Sport.
Yep.
I think these days with the modern Lexuses, you have to get the F Sport package if you care about handling.
Yeah, it was.
Otherwise, it's going to be the floaty Lexus.
I was surprised. I was like, this is kind of fun. Because I was thinking, like, a very detached experience. It's a hybrid, first of all.
Well, her car underneath, I think, is a Prius.
Yeah.
Right? So, but it's interesting that they made a Lexus.
I always tell her that. Like, you just bought a glorified Prius. That's what
it's a Prius in a suit that has nice handling. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like, the power is, like, obviously. I'm like, it's okay.
Just get on the power early and stay on it, man. You'll be fine.
But,
it's got the handling to do it.
But yeah, I mean, it's really fun. And
well, also, on a further note, what about the LC500? Same engine, right? 470 horsepower.
Yep.
But, this is a car that you can get out the door for $100,000 or low $100,000, like under 110.
I would, for that price point, I would buy that.
Like
compared to what else you can buy,
dude. I mean, like I think that to me just kills Maserati. Like, because in terms of performance, I think it's actually faster than the Maseratis.
Yeah,
and more power and everything. And I think it's going to turn more heads than a Maserati.
Yep.
I think it's just nicer in every single way than a Maserati. It even sounds about as good. Maybe not quite as good, but it's close. That car has a lot of good sounds coming out of it.
And I would say that with the new interior, I know.
I'd say, all right, it's got 90% of the sound of a Maserati.
Yeah.
And better in every other way.
Yeah.
And $50,000 cheaper.
Yep. And it'll probably age better. It'll be on
hold
better
its value better.
Yeah, all of the above, pretty much.
Yeah, and it just that car I think is so well done. And again, it's at that level, but they didn't price it there.
Yep.
It's a value. It's a relative value.
And this is all thanks to the LFA.
It really.
If you see the tail, if you see the back end of a LC500, you see hints. Pretty big.
There's a
hints.
lot of hints of the LFA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you know, I think it's awesome. Now, granted, it's nowhere near as light as an LFA was. It's
totally
like a 4,300 pound
totally
car.
different car.
But it doesn't handle like one. It's actually really nimble on its feet and stuff. Like I'm sure once you really push it, it starts to feel like a 4,300 pound car. But
yeah, but I mean,
on the road, just having a good time like I did, like it was fine.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by that
brown interior.
or the really sick like blue and orange and white interior.
Oh man, I don't like that.
I could.
Was that a New York Auto Show one?
That was at the New York Auto Show and actually the other place where I drove it at the Mistlewood Concourse. But that that I think when Lexus's their current formula works now, supposedly there's an LCF coming out. That is going to have a 600 plus horsepower twin turbo V8.
They're gonna looks of that car.
Supposedly they're gonna hop on the twin turbo V8 train soon.
Dude,
I'm okay with it.
I'm really curious how the styling is because the current one looks amazing. It looks aggressive.
So they're just gonna make it even more aggressive.
What if they do like Viper ACR
Dude,
style? Just put a wing.
The big wing and like track focus,
Yeah,
like that would be crazy.
That'd be kind of fun. That'd be fun. Like just make 3 of them, like limited production.
Just
pretty much a collector car. Like
make like the concept version, but like usable, and then make
just,
like a distilled,
like
one
a novelty type of thing.
That would be
sell it for
so
like $3
sick.
million each.
Oh my god, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so it seems like Lexus's F models are going to be turbocharged at some point here. Like, I think the new LS had, and so what happened with the ISF when it first began was it took the V8 5-liter from the LS, and Yamaha overdid it, to my knowledge. And they and brought it up to like 416 horsepower and all of that. So if that follows that trend, the new LS has a twin turbo V6 in it, with about 420 horsepower. So if they took that motor up to the power to 500 and put it in the IS, then you have the next gen ISF or RCF, and I think that's likely to happen. I don't know how much longer this awesome 5-liter V8 is going to survive, but man, I hope it sticks around for a little while longer, because when there's something about it, I don't know if it has a valve in it or if it's just the sound of the or like an extra intake valve that opens, or if it's just the sound of the
it sounds like
the valve timing switching.
Yeah.
But when when it hits 3,000 RPM at throttle, it goes from like boom, like it will scare the shit out of anybody riding with you the first time.
I got scared just standing next to it.
Yeah.
Like first of all, I didn't know it was straight piped.
That always helps.
It was it hurt my ears a little bit.
It's a sick.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. It sounds like I would even like a flat plane crank type of noise. Like it's a more refined.
It's very motorsport.
Yeah,
because it's Yamaha.
Yeah,
that's the thing is Yamaha's like they build motorbike, motorcycle racing engines and stuff. Like they built some really serious stuff.
Yep.
So like I mean ISF. That was the most recent F car I drove was a ISF, and like that car with the paddle shift and stuff, just the way it feels, it feels like a very like motorsport derived car. Much more hardcore than you'd expect by looking at the outside of a Lexus from that era. Yeah, like because that's one of my favorites in that regard, because now they're more known for it. But back when the ISF came out, it was like pre-LFA, like
disgusting tips.
Yeah, like it had like all this like crap, and it was just like they were still kind of librarians' cars, and to get in a car like that from Lexus at that time was like, what? Is this?
Or like, why would you buy that?
Yeah, like what the hell is this car?
Yeah.
So it's nuts, and I love those just because they're all my favorite thing about them is still that they have the reliability factor.
Yep.
Like Lexus brought the performance up to where it needed to be without compromising that.
Mm-hmm. Kept the
stellar achievement.
Toyota reliability.
Yeah. So I mean that's where this tried and true approach really works.
Yep.
Right? Totally. And I'm all for it because I maintain that I don't give a shit what your car makes power-wise. If it ain't running, it's a paperweight. If you can't race it today, it's a paperweight.
You cannot say that.
Why?
Mr. Alpha Man.
No, I would say it to an Alfa Romeo owner the same as I'd say it to a Chevy owner. If your car cannot race right now, it's a paperweight. Think about it. That's what I used to tell my buddy who had that like Model M3. Like, I'm just like, oh, let's race today. He's like, oh, the car's not done. Oh, so it's slower than my car today. Slower than my car most days until it's running.
So fastest car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it kind of loops back to that.
Most of those cars are just like run for 20 minutes. You got to rest.
And that's the whole thing is reliability does matter. Now I get when you can sacrifice it a little bit for some increased emotion and technology or whatever, but when a car has emotion, performance, and is reliable, damn.
Yeah, that's pretty potent product.
That's an amazing product, and to me, that's these Lexus F models.
Yeah, I mean, I think we see. I think one thing, like when Lexus started, it wasn't. I think their biggest thing was the LS, the boxy one. That was like that was like their break-in car. So supposedly that's the best car to buy because they made it bulletproof.
They built it as crazy.
My buddy has one like pretty dang good condition for all of it is 320,000 miles, and it looks good and it runs great. Yeah,
they're built crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard. I'm looking on the used market right now for one, update on my situation, and like it's when I looked at the service schedule of this versus like the other cars I'm considering, and I'm just like, it's literally just like change the oil and the fluids and rotate the tires every 5,000 miles. That's it.
Yeah, that's like unheard of.
Like there's no like shit that's known to go wrong. You check the problems, there really aren't any, and it's like, damn, like,
how'd you do it? So
well engineered cars, man, like tried and true. Sure. But so I mean that's where this comes into the good realm. I just wish they would find some balance between these two things.
I think that's our conclusion here.
And I think they also need to know when and where to apply this. I don't want them to be at the forefront of everything like the Germans are because obviously that doesn't really work that well in a lot of ways. But I think they need to be just a little bit quicker on the uptake and they need to be more cognizant of, like, especially with the BRZ, of what the market really wants when they're developing something like a sports car.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't a secret. You know what I mean?
Yep. And just how I think now I remember why I brought that up. Just how Lexus kind of built up to this point. They're great cars, luxury, reliability. Like you said, like they have all the marbles in a sense. I think it's going to be really interesting with all these new players coming in. Like I bring up like Genesis, the brand. Like right now, Genesis, like there's nothing really going on. But I see the potential with like
they got the 3 Series coming out.
It's going to be crazy, like how many competitors there are going to be potentially in this space now. It's not just going to be what are you going to buy, a BMW or a Mercedes? Like now it's going to be like, I would consider
Infinities are doing well.
Infinities are doing well. Like you have legitimate options. Like they're not like, okay, I couldn't afford
Genesis does need to up their build quality.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, what's crazy about Lexus? Not granted, they just piggyback off Toyota. It was originally just
and I don't think they're comparable right now.
But when they came to the market, they came with a car that was like, there was no quality issues. It was just the most bulletproof car on the market. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, there wasn't a brand new like endeavor. It was Toyota bringing essentially what the luxury stuff they'd been doing in Japan to the United States. Yeah. So like it wasn't totally new. But Hyundai Group in general has to really work on upping their build quality.
Yep.
If they're going to be in these higher markets, like the 10 years, 100,000 miles, and everything breaks at 102. That is able to fly in the cheapo market.
Yep.
When you're selling a car for $14,000 or sub 30.
Not anymore, but
when you're getting into these big performance cars and big luxury cars and stuff,
I see the potential.
That it's more.
That's why I bring it up, not because I hope they do it. It's like I can see it going that way. Like
I can see it happening.
It's like with the new Stinger. I think that's like kind of breaking new
ground.
It
felt solid. The build quality did not feel
we'll see
how
We'll see how it lasts. But I mean, I think it's a legitimate possible competitor in the
just in a way,
future.
like when you sit in like an old Lexus or like even a new Lexus, and yes, they're not maybe the best designed buttons and stuff, but you push them and they feel well screwed in. right?
I still
You
don't
know
like
when you push that big button, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but that's going to work just fine at 200,000
This is where you and I differ a lot.
What?
I want something that looks good and feels great, but then if it breaks down, then it was, that was it. Like, that's it.
No.
I don't want, like...
I'd rather have shit that works indefinitely.
No. This is
Have you ever sat in a first gen Miata? That's one of my favorite interiors for this.
God.
Because every single button and switch is so clunky, but they all work.
What interior? The radio that's slapped on the dash?
That was my favorite part, is the simplicity.
I like the simplicity. It's
so simple, and everything works still. I had one with almost 200,000 miles in my first one, and every single thing worked.
Yeah.
Every switch, and it was made of this chunky plastic. It was barely even tarnished.
No,
but that's the thing, is when you build something out of,
that's a Miata though. That's an entry level car.
It wasn't trying to be.
I'm trying.
Mine was the leather.
I'm talking about the
seats
luxury portion.
My shit was posh.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
great.
I'm talking about the luxury segment though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're entry level, mid, higher up entry level, I don't really care. Whatever.
Well, this actually is segueing to the next topic that we should talk about.
Let's do it.
Interior materials.
Yep. We thought of this from after thinking about the i3 a little bit.
The BMW i3.
I would say that's the most extreme in terms of
currently, yeah, I think so.
I'm sure there are, but in terms of mass-produced cars,
that was the one that struck me the most.
Yeah, just
because when I remember I read about it and I heard they were using all these recycled materials and all this green, this and that, and it was just like the tree huggers, paradise. But then when I actually got in one, and I'm like, wow.
It feels good.
It feels premium.
Yeah.
This is all recycled stuff. But BMW found a way to put the fit and finish on materials like that, and you don't feel like you're driving around in a trash bag.
Yep.
And it's genuinely nice. And I will be honest,
a fun interior.
I was blown away.
Yeah,
I could not believe how nice it was.
I was too. When I saw the outside, I was like, God, this thing is hideous.
I love the way it looks.
No, I think it was fun. But at least the back, I was like, I don't like the back at all.
I love everything about the way
I thought it looked weird, but then, I got it in, and I was like, I kind of get the car now.
They're going for the Minority Report thing.
It's
it's futuristic.
It makes
sense.
But
I love that. It's like a concept car.
It does it all the way through. That's why I like it. If it did, the styling it has now and a traditional BMW interior, I'd be like, this is
That's
stupid.
Actually kind of where the i8 has an issue. It's
so
normal on the inside, save for it does have on the steering wheel and throughout the interior this glow in the dark blue stuff.
Sure, but
that makes it feel
most
cool.
Cars do that.
But in daylight when you don't see that, it is a very conventional BMW interior.
Yeah,
and this doesn't do that.
Yeah,
I actually really liked the i8.
Yeah,
or the i3 for that.
The interior is nice, it's very airy feeling.
A lot of space.
The material, I don't know what it is. It's like the recycled wood or cardboard. What the feel is kind of fun. It's it feels like
it was nice.
Plywood cut.
Yeah,
but it's
beechwood or something.
Yeah, but how it's designed, it's really cool.
And then you turn, and then the range saver engine clatters to life, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, what is it? A 3-cylinder?
That was the only problem. No, I think it's a 1-cylinder battery charger.
Okay, so
or something like that. I remember we were driving it around and we ran the battery down, and by the time my buddy Shane took the wheel, the generator was on, and I was just like, ooh. This car is a lot worse with the engine running. It's an awesome electric car, but I would still get the engine just so I didn't have to worry about the range.
0 to 60 in less than 8 seconds. That's not bad.
I think I said a few weeks back we got behind an i3 and he took off and I was in the Miata.
Not bad.
We had a Miata, an Abarth, and a BMW E36, and I was flooring it. And we weren't gaining on him too much. It takes off pretty quick.
Yeah, less than 8 seconds.
Instant torque too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Still, but highway speed or rolling speeds are different for electric cars.
No, this was almost from 0.
Oh,
because I was turning left and he kind of gunned it, so he had a head start, and we were catching up,
but it's
but
still
not.
The i3.
We were not catching up as fast as I thought we would be.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It was impressive.
Yeah, but going back to the materials portion, what are we going to see in the near future? We just can't keep killing all the cows in the world. And
all right, so we're talking materials, and we're not talking about necessarily design.
Yeah, let's talk more. Just
I
the raw
like
material.
the Cadillacs. Cadillac does something interesting for me, and I noticed this when I drove the CTSs. I noticed this when I drove the ELR. Their Volt in a suit that was double the price and awful.
Yep.
That thing though had a really nicely finished interior. It has leather, metal, carbon, and wood all together.
Ooh.
It was absolutely beautiful.
The ELR?
The ELR and even some of the CTS higher models and stuff like that, they've mixed those four materials. And I think their design might need a little bit of work overall in the interior, but in the areas that they use that together, I think it's pretty stunning. And I love those materials together.
That's pretty awesome.
It's one of the only cars I've seen it in. I mean, I'm sure there's others, but it's one of the only cars I've like really noticed it in, where they use all of them like right next to each other.
Yeah, that's key, right next to each other.
Oh yeah, this is like on the door.
That's when you really notice. Ooh. Like, you know, when like cars say they use, you know, X amount of materials, you don't really notice. You're like, you have to look back, you have to look up. Yeah. But then when they're next to each other and they work well, I think the fear is that if you put them next to each other, they can look really stupid and tacky. Yeah. Like carbon, fiber, and wood. Like, that would look really stupid. Yeah. You're like, what are you doing? You're trying to be lightweight and be luxurious.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, what are you trying to do here? But those are, I mean, we're looking at a photo now.
That's one that sticks out to me.
I think they're going to start using, you know, like the new Aventador. No, Huracan Performante.
Oh, the forged carbon?
Yeah.
That stuff is sick.
I actually don't like that.
Really?
I think it looks weird. It looks like a marble floor.
I don't know. I like that.
No, yeah, it's like cool. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying I like.
I'm gonna be curious to see how it gets used. Styling.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a really cool concept.
Like, where would that maybe use?
And I think it could be used pretty well.
It's recycled, right? It's like recycled carbon or something.
I don't actually know how they make it.
Okay.
They call it forged carbon, so forged in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think if we're going to talk interior materials, you got to talk about the King, Paganis. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, that's like a level where he's having watchmakers are making the dials and shit. I mean, this is a $3 or $4 million car. But it's like, you know, you're talking like the finest.
I mean, but it could trickle down, like maybe like Seiko does it. That sounds really stupid.
Yeah. Like Citizen's gonna do it for Lincoln or something.
Hey, if Fender can do speaker systems for cars, then why not?
Yeah, like, I mean, just it's a brand and everything they put it on. But you know, like those have like, you know, you actually have like the dials and stuff are made out of metal. Yeah, like it's not like metal covering plastic. It's like metal.
Yeah,
like that's freaking cool.
Other materials being used. Like what can you see in the far future or near future?
Well, I also love like the BMW individual. I drove a
Love and BMW in the same sentence.
Absolutely, in this one. I drove a 760 of the previous gen, and it had the individual, and it had this white wood, like veneer, like the whole dash was white wood.
Okay.
I don't even remember what kind of wood, but it was. I opened the interior. It was dark brown. It was like a chocolate brown leather interior.
Oh, I love
with white wood trim. It was and a white car. It was absolutely gorgeous.
I really loved it.
Oh my god! Yeah, some of these like custom options are really insane.
Yeah,
like some of the custom woods they use are like what Rolls-Royce does a lot, where they do they're doing like fine wood finish. Obviously, they've always done that.
Yep.
But now they're doing you know, like metal within the wood. So like metal striping in the wood.
Wow.
Or metal engraving, like doing an engraving and then filling it with a metal plate. Like, so of some type of design or family crest or something. And
that's insane.
I mean, they're, you know, obviously at the higher end, there's more interesting stuff with materials because there's more money.
Down to just like performance cars, like it could trickle down theoretically to the lower cars.
Still waiting for my, you know, Nissan Juke with the Starlight headliner.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think you can do that.
I'd at least like to see it in a Lincoln or something like that.
Just go to Kensington, just get it done.
Yeah, just go get some LEDs and some yarn and sew yourself your own headliner, Starlight. I really want to do that with like some ghetto. Like maybe if Albert gets another like ghetto luxury car, we should do that.
That would be a awesome Top Gear.
Albert, if you're listening, we got to do Starlight headliner and whatever American rust box you buy next.
Don't ever pick me up.
Hell yeah, dude.
But
it's gonna be so like.
That would be a fun challenge though if Top Gear or Grand Tour does it. Like
emulate
a car, and like you have like a budget, like whatever their budget is for the car, the materials, and everything.
Emulate features and luxury cars in shit boxes.
Yeah. And then like, wouldn't that be awesome? And then
that would be hilarious.
And then you have to chauffeur some like famous person around for a day or something.
Oh, that would be a great one for Top Gear. That would be an awesome one for Top Gear.
I give that to you, Top Gear.
Oh my god! Or if we ever have the budget to do it, let's do it. LEDs. I love like the ambient lighting that the Mercedes and stuff. I love that shit.
I don't.
Really?
I like it tastes I like subtle ones. I don't like the whole like.
Oh yeah, okay. So okay, I don't want like to be glowing blue in my face. No, like I want it subtle.
No, but the new the S classes all kind of have that, like the freaking whole car.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm in like a lounge.
Yeah. That's the whole point.
No, exactly.
It's like,
exactly. But I don't like it because I kind of like the darkness in a car.
Yeah, I do too.
I like it like.
Well, I think you can turn it off too.
No, I know you can turn it off, but I know a lot of people aren't going to.
That'd be funny if you couldn't turn it off.
Yeah, it's just like, I want to go.
You wind up just driving the car off a bridge because you're so tired of it being blue.
Blue.
Just like
LEDs in cars should be interesting.
I think when they're used properly, I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. I really don't like when Chevy does it. Actually,
really?
Like
Chevy has a way of overdoing everything.
Yeah, I know, but like, I mean, maybe I'm just getting really too critical with
jaded with General Motors.
Yeah, like I had this really cheap rent. I had the Traverse, like a spec'd out Traverse. It was actually extremely roomy. I would take it over a minivan. It was crazy in there, but it had this stupid little like GM color green that I can't decide whether I want to be green or blue. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Aqua.
Yeah, whatever the crap is. It pretty much looks like like the gauge. Anyway, they use that color to like kind of to trim out the passenger side, the front passenger side, like airbag, front dash area.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
God, that looks.
And you can't change the color.
No, and it looks so.
The Buicks have that shit too.
It looks so dumb. Like I hate that. It looks so. Pick a different color.
Yeah, really.
Like that color makes everything look like 5 years older.
Well, yeah, especially like when it came out, it was like a little bit okay, but like now that they're all like used in like $12,000, it's like, like dates it a little bit.
Yeah, just turn it off. Or just purposely short it.
Other one that I would bring up is Jaguar. They have so like they have nice interiors in general, I think, but when you open the center console, it's lined. The material that lines the cubby is purple velvet.
That's cool.
Like thong purple velvet.
It's
it's like the queen bent over and you saw her purple thong. Like every time you open it in a Jaguar, it's purple velvet.
I like that a lot.
And I just that type of a touch, I just love
I love that
in those cars because
awesome.
Jaguars like got that Jag kind of like aura to them.
I wish more cars did that.
Yeah, like
they
had fun with
like yellow.
Yeah, or just like something fun that's like hidden that you would only ever find if you looked. Like, that's awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
I remember I just started laughing. I was like I was like with one of the Jaguar people. I opened the thing and I just start laughing. And he's like, "Oh, you found it!"
Surprise!
Like, oh my god! It's just like it's the Queen's thong. Let's see. With the other, we should wrap up soon. Let's see. Thinking about Rolls Royces.
Oh yeah, the freaking pinnacle of
what? Interior. Well, yeah, that's the pinnacle of the interior design. What I love about, I guess this isn't a material, but like in terms of like design and packaging, is a Rolls Royce. Everything's hidden. So you get in the car and you're like, I remember when I was a kid, I would see the pictures in the interior and I'd be like, compared to the Maybach that has like the obvious toys, like all the buttons and everything's hidden away. So I always thought a Rolls Royce was like really basic and just like plush, but like basic.
Yeah.
But no. Everything's hidden.
Yep.
And like so it has all the features, but you have to find them, and I love that it's like really clean.
It makes it timeless. Like
Yeah.
Even if they left their like GPS system out, then it's gonna age the car.
Well, like an 04 Phantom is that exact thing.
Yep.
It's like on an 04 GPS system or whatever, but you just leave that lid closed and it looks brand new.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you don't have to see the age unless you really want to. And of course, they have the. My other favorite thing is the umbrellas and the doors.
Oh,
what a sick feature!
Isn't that like $400 each or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Something ridiculous.
Maybe more.
Yeah, probably more. I'm sorry, Rolls Royce owners.
Yeah,
that
might be.
I am a mere peasant.
For sure. They're just the touches on that level of luxury cars.
Yeah, I actually really do like when you can cover the radio on consumer level cars. Like when the original Scion TC came out with a little flap to cover the radio. I actually really like that.
I like the idea. Yeah,
it just looks so clean.
It cleans the dash
totally.
up.
It like kind of gives new age to your interior.
On the new Cadillacs, they have what I call like the James Bond compartment, where you like on the Q thing, it's touch, so it doesn't always work. But when it works, you brush the bottom of it, and the whole middle raises up automatically, and there's a big compartment.
Yeah, I went to the auto show. I did that with the Escalade.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Whoa, this is
really
cool." I was like,
when it works,
this is gonna break.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna break. You're gonna put something in there, and then you're never gonna be able to get it back.
Yep, exactly. That's pretty cool, though.
I'm sure there's some way to override it, but I do like cubbies, like secret compartments in cars. Yep. I'm a huge. Oh, one of my favorites. Speaking of which, the Dodge Dart.
What?
This is the best drug smuggling feature I've ever seen in my life. Okay? So it's the passenger seat cushion on the bottom. Right? Okay. So what you sit on. There's a little reach. You reach in there and you pull it and the whole thing folds up. And there's like a fairly big compartment right under the passenger seat.
Is it like a compartment, like it's actually has a little pouch area? Or is it like there's a space where you put stuff in between the seat adjustments and things? Like, is it purposely made?
Yes, it's purposely there for storage.
Wow.
And they thought of that.
It's like that fast.
And it's like the best place to hide contraband I've ever. That was my first thought. I'm like, oh my god! Like, if you're like a drug smuggler, this is the car for you. Just bring some pretty lady or some handicapped person that they're not going to make it out of the car.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel when he pulls up the seat and turns on the nitrous.
It literally was like it was exactly where that compartment was when Vin Diesel like opened the nitrous. It was exactly there.
Do you think they got that from the movie?
Because
he was. I think he was.
I don't think he was on board when they brought that out. And I'd be curious to see. That car is based on an Alfa Romeo Giulietta from Europe, and I'd be curious to see if that feature was also in that car. But I remember when I test drove the Dart, I was like, oh my god, that's like the sickest thing ever. It's like the sickest little hidden compartment I've ever seen.
Like, you can always leave stuff there, even if your car gets broken into. You'll be fine.
I mean, I think that was kind of the reason. It's like they kind of tuck the flap away too. Like it has a flap, but like if you tuck it back in, you wouldn't see it just by looking at the car.
Right.
Like you'd have to like know it was there and pull it out. Yeah. So yeah, I love like hidden compartments and stuff in cars.
Seems like a Doug DeMuro video.
It kind of does.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm sure most people have tuned out by now.
Yeah,
we should probably end on that note. But
this is podcast 8, man.
Podcast 8. We are rolling with it.
Yep.
We're just gonna, we just keep doing it as long as it's fun.
We try to be relevant as much as possible. Obviously, we try to do these fun topics like, checking out.
I find anything I rant about.
Pretty much, for the most part, we have to weed Nick out with some of his, but for the most part, we try to go.
The Japanese car thing came up because I had a little argument with some people on Facebook, and I was like, "This needs."
He's that guy, by the way.
I am that guy.
He's that guy that argues on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite sports.
Please unfollow him.
No, I mean it's just fun with certain topics. To engage with people.
Anyway,
but
we're on podcast 8. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We'll be we're planning on putting our podcast up on other networks by 10.
Yeah, our plan is to just get 10, so we'll be able to fill the space and we won't look like we just started yesterday.
So for all you listening now, when this releases, thank you for your early support.
Yeah.
Feel free to shoot us a message so we remember you when we're huge.
Or hate mail. Hate mail too.
Or just message Nick on Facebook.
Yeah.
No, post it on his wall. Don't even so everyone can see.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
All right. What's your Instagram?
Sam X Chun. I don't even want to promote mine anymore.
Why?
It's just
Dude, you got some sick photography
All right,
on there.
anyway.
This
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
takes
all
great
right.
photos. He spends hours editing. We gotta promote his
all right,
Instagram.
fair enough.
My Instagram is mindovermotor_official. I have tens of thousands of photos.
Oh, I did make
that I'm
another Instagram
ready to post.
that I'm
So,
ready to share.
oh, do it.
Mind Over Motor Unofficial.
Are you serious, dude?
No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
oh my god,
thanks for
That would be
listening.
hilarious. Maybe we should start that.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good night.
See you.